innovation isn't what we're after. Neither is creativity nor transformation. What we're after is a meaningful and sustainable life. Creativity, innovation, and transformation, these are all side effects of our desires and abilities to empathize and to connect. A long time ago, I had a close friend who was bipolar. And I remember doing a lot of different things to try and help her out. And one of the things I did was I went to a local support group. And what I learned there was that the best thing I can do as a friend is to empathize with her. And what they meant by this was that if I listen to her closely and respond back with my understanding of how she's feeling and why, if my understanding was correct, she'll feel understood. And that should help her feel better. Which sounds almost too simple to be true, but when you actually try it, you realize that it's a lot more difficult than you think. The whole time I was trying to explain to her why she was feeling the way she was, she just kept yelling and screaming and crying, and telling me that I didn't understand, which went on for like a half an hour. Since nothing I said worked, I just kept revising the story over and over and over again. And after a while, you run out of ideas, and you're in your head trying to figure out, what am I missing? Then I had kind of a rude awakening, because I realized that it was possible that something I had done right before she got depressed may have had something to do with her feeling the way she was feeling now. So I told her that, and she concurred. The story I've been telling her was framed in such a way that it was all her fault, and I had nothing to do with it. So basically I was assuming that she was a mentally ill patient, and I was some kind of an enlightened healer or something like that, which made it impossible to empathize with her. What was really remarkable about this was that I ended up with a story that was completely unexpected, yet completely obvious in hindsight at the same time. The story was so simple and obvious and logical, I couldn't understand why I hadn't thought of it in the first place. I was like, no wonder you felt that way, or you feel this way. And she even thanked me for it, which was surprising because I didn't know I could be thanked for trying to understand someone. I mean, this basically changed my understanding of what it means to understand, and also what it means to be a friend. And I think this is exactly what happens when we're making something. Just think of all the times you've had to work with materials you've never worked with before, or sat down to make something you've never made before. In the beginning, you're always starting with your own assumptions and biases. And you're probably using the same methods, tools, and devices that you've used in the past as well. So soon enough, it feels pretty familiar what you're doing, and you feel pretty good about the work you're doing as well. But eventually, if you're sufficiently self-aware, you realize that what you're doing is you're trying to fit an old idea into a new context, and it's not working. And this is where you realize you have a choice. You can either ignore it and plow along, or you can be honest about it. Sometimes you'll ignore it for good reasons, life goes on, but other times you'll choose to be honest about it. You'll acknowledge the feeling that there is something missing, and that your perspective alone is insufficient, that you need a new perspective, a new paradigm, a new way of thinking. And this, just like my conversation with my friend, is very difficult, and sometimes even painful. It takes humility and courage to put aside your own biases and assumptions. Not everybody's willing to let go of control and certainty for the sake of learning something new. But it's only when you're willing to do this, only when you're willing to listen to a different perspective and manage to empathize, will you be surprised by a new way of thinking. And just like my conversation with my friend, when this happens, you'll feel a sense of profound resonance, of coherence. And you'll wonder why you hadn't thought of this simple, obvious, and logical way of thinking before. When we empathize, what we're doing is we're collapsing two different perspectives into one. And this changes the way we look at or understand the world, and it changes the meaning associated with those two perspectives, because we see a new relationship between them. And the fancy name for this, of course, is creativity. When I look around, I see many of us are infatuated with creativity, innovation, and transformation. And I've spent a decade in the field of design consulting and high-tech R&D, so I see and I understand why this is valuable. But we're missing the big picture if we're too obsessed with these ideas. So as a first step of this project, what I'd like to do is to share with everyone a different understanding of what it means to make something. Making is not only a process, it's also an attitude. One that embodies trust, humility, courage, integrity, honesty, and dignity. And I'd like for us to become aware of this so we can start to apply the idea to everything we do.